horror stories, tales.
Like and subscribe if you want to live.
Darkness, just darkness. And then, a heartbeat, slow, heavy, like something buried alive is still breathing. Jason thought he had left that motel forever, but room 313 never lets anyone go. There's something waiting inside. Something that remembers every scream. Stay till the end if you dare. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 hours straight, hammering against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists, and Jason could barely see the yellow lines on the cracked highway. His phone had died somewhere after midnight. The GPS froze, and the last exit sign he saw was half torn off, rusted, reading Elton County. The wipers screeched as they dragged across the glass, and in that moment of tired frustration, a flicker of red appeared in the distance, a neon sign buzzing weakly through the mist, vacancy. Jason slowed the car, squinting through the downpour until the building took shape. A roadside motel with 10 rooms, peeling paint, and a single light burning in the office window. He pulled into the lot, the tires crunching over gravel mixed with broken glass. The rain dripped from his jacket as he stepped out, looking around. No sound, no movement. Only the faint hum of that red light stuttering like a heartbeat. Inside the office, a bell sat on the counter beside an old register, and behind it, a wall of keys hung, only one missing. Room 313. "Hello," Jason called, his voice echoing strangely against the wallpaper. For a moment, nothing. Then a door creaked behind the counter, and a man stepped out, thin, pale, wearing a brown suit too big for him. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Late-night traveler," the man asked softly. "You're lucky. Only one room left?" Jason nodded, relieved, but something in the man's tone made him uneasy. "Yeah, room 313. The man's smile widened just a little too much. "That's the one." He slid the old brass key across the counter. Jason reached for it and felt how cold it was, like it had just been pulled out of ice. "Cash only," the man added. Jason hesitated, handed him 2 20s, and the man's long fingers brushed his as he took them. "You'll sleep fine," he said. "Most do." Jason forced a smile, thanked him, and walked out into the rain, heading toward the far end of the motel. The hallway lights flickered weakly, the kind of yellow glow that made everything look old and sick. Room 313 was the last door, the number carved into the wood as if by hand. The key turned easily. The smell hit him first. Damp carpet, dust, and something metallic underneath, almost like blood. He stepped inside, flipping the light switch, and for a second, it didn't respond. Then, with a crack, it buzzed to life, revealing faded green walls, a single bed, a flickering TV, and a mirror facing the door. Jason tossed his bag on the chair, rubbing his hands together. "Just one night," he muttered. The rain outside intensified, pounding the windows so hard it sounded like whispering voices behind the glass. He turned on the TV for noise, static filling the room. The remote didn't work, so he got up, smacked the side of the set, and a channel appeared. Old footage of a motel lobby, the same one he was standing in. Jason froze, staring. The screen showed the same counter, the same bell, the same pale man. Only this time the man was looking directly at the camera, smiling wider, motionless. Jason quickly switched the TV off, his chest tight. "Old recording," he muttered, though his voice trembled. He sat on the bed, removed his boots, but every sound, the wind, the rain, the faint hum of the light, felt amplified, pressing in on him. Then came the knock, soft 3 times. He turned toward the door. "Hello." No answer. He opened it, half expecting the manager, but the hallway was empty. Just the sound of rain dripping from the roof. He shut the door slowly, locked it, and when he turned around, the mirror caught his reflection, only he wasn't alone in it. Behind him, just over his shoulder, stood a figure, tall, blurred, unmoving. Jason spun around, but the room was empty. The air felt colder now, his breath visible in the light. He faced the mirror again. Only his reflection this time, but the glass was wet, like condensation forming from inside. He wiped it with his sleeve, and faint letters appeared beneath the moisture. "Doang." Jason stumbled back, his heart slamming against his ribs. "What the hell?" he whispered, reaching for his phone instinctively before remembering it was dead. He grabbed the room phone, lifted the receiver, and froze. The line wasn't dead, it was breathing. Slow, ragged, wet breaths echoing through the receiver. Then a faint whisper. "Too late." Jason dropped it instantly, backing into the bed. He stared at the door handle. It was turning slowly from the outside. He bolted up, ran to it, pressed his shoulder against the wood, holding it still. Silence. Then the key turned in the lock.
Hey, stop!
"Who's there?" he yelled. "Nothing." He yanked the door open but found only an empty hall, except for a single, wet footprint leading away from his door toward the office. The same footprint appeared again, closer now, right behind him. Jason turned, but no one was there. The air smelled like rain and rust. His reflection in the mirror now looked pale, wrong, eyes too wide, mouth trembling even though his wasn't moving. Then the lights went out. Complete blackness. Only the sound of the rain. Then the whisper, closer this time, inside the room, beside his ear. "You shouldn't have checked in." The screen on the TV flickered again by itself, and for just a split second before it went dark. Jason saw his own face in it, sleeping in the bed, but his real body was standing across the room. His throat tightened, fear climbing up like ice water, and when he finally found his voice, it came out as a broken whisper. What are you?" The answer came not from the room, but from the TV, in his own voice. "I'm the one who never checked out." Chapter 2 scene. The manager's smile. Jason didn't remember screaming, but his throat burned like he had. The phone kept ringing in the dark. It sounded sharp and hollow, like it was echoing from a deep tunnel. The red light on the phone blinked steadily, pulsing like a heartbeat, and every flash painted the room in blood tones. Jason reached for it, his fingers shaking, but before he could pick it up, the ringing stopped. The silence after was louder than the noise. His reflection in the mirror still didn't look right. Its eyes followed him even when he turned away. The air felt thick, hard to breathe, and somewhere under the floorboards, something was moving. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, but when he pulled it open, the hallway outside wasn't the same one he came through. The wallpaper was darker, soaked with moisture, and faint handprints stained the walls like someone had been dragged. The light at the far end flickered weakly, showing just enough for him to see. Room 311's door was open, and inside, something was swinging from the ceiling fan. "Hello," he called out, his voice cracking. No answer. Only the slow creak of that fan, turning with a wet, rhythmic sound. He stepped closer, each footstep sinking slightly into the carpet, as if it were damp. When he reached the doorway, he saw it clearly. An old man hanging by the neck, his eyes black and mouth frozen mid-scream. But the strangest part wasn't that he was dead. It was that Jason recognized the face. It was the same man from the front desk, wearing the same brown suit. Jason stumbled back, his stomach twisting. "No, you're downstairs," he whispered. He turned and ran down the hallway toward the office. But the closer he got, the more everything seemed to stretch. The corridor growing longer, the ceiling lower. When he finally burst through the office door, it was empty. The chair behind the counter was still spinning slightly, and the bell on the desk rang by itself softly. "Hello? Anyone here?" he shouted. The silence swallowed his words. The TV behind the counter flickered on by itself, showing grainy footage of the motel parking lot. Jason leaned closer. It was Liv. He could see his own car parked outside, headlights dim, rain dripping from the hood. But then, from the left edge of the screen, someone appeared, a tall figure walking toward his car. The man moved slowly, dragging one leg behind, leaving a dark trail across the pavement. Jason's chest tightened. He reached for the door to run out, but when he opened it, the parking lot was empty again. The rain had stopped completely. The air smelled strange, like copper and rot. He took one hesitant step forward, eyes darting around, until a soft voice came from behind him. "Checking out early." Jason spun around. The manager stood there, perfectly still, his brown suit clean and dry as if the rain never touched him. His smile stretched wide, but his eyes were empty, pupils too large. You're dead," Jason whispered, backing away. The man tilted his head slightly, that grin never fading. "We don't die here, Mr. Gray. We only stay." Jason's breath caught in his throat. "What the hell are you talking about?" The manager moved closer, his shoes making no sound against the floor. "Room 313 was meant for you. It always has been. You shouldn't have come." Jason felt the walls closing in, the buzzing of the lights growing louder until it hurt his ears. "I'm leaving," he said, pushing past him. The man didn't stop him, just watched, smiling. Jason burst outside, ran to his car, fumbled for the keys in his pocket, and jumped in. The ignition clicked once, twice. Nothing. He tried again. Dead. He looked up and froze. Every window of the motel now had a figure standing behind it. Some looked burned, others soaked, others pale as paper, all staring directly at him. The red vacancy sign buzzed above, flickering faster, casting long red streaks over their faces. Jason slammed the car door shut and hit the horn, but it made no sound. The silence was thick, pressing in. Then, through the rearview mirror, he saw movement, someone sitting in the back seat. Slowly, trembling, he turned his head, empty. But the smell was there again, iron and something foul. His seat felt wet. He touched it, lifted his hand, and saw blood. Then, the radio crackled, though it wasn't on. A soft voice came through, whispering, almost tender, "Drive." Jason's shaking hands turned the key again, and this time, the engine roared to life. The headlights flared, cutting through the mist, and he floored the gas, tires screeching as he tore out of the parking lot. The motel disappeared behind him into the darkness. He didn't stop until he saw the highway sign again. "Welcome to Elton County." Relief flooded him. He was out. He laughed nervously, gripping the wheel. But when he looked in the rearview mirror, his reflection smiled back at him. And he wasn't smiling. The face in the mirror began to change, the eyes turning black, mouth widening, skin paling. Jason screamed, slamming the mirror down. Swerving across the road, the car hit something, a thud, a crunch, and came to a stop. He stumbled out, breathing hard, the fog thick around him. He looked at the road, at what he'd hit, and froze. Lying there broken, twisted under the headlights, was himself. Same clothes, same face, same terrified expression. Jason stumbled backward, his mind cracking under the weight of it. No. This isn't real, he whispered, gripping his hair. But the sound of footsteps behind him made him turn, and the manager was standing there again, perfectly calm. "You left without checking out," he said, his voice almost kind. "You can't do that, Jason." Jason backed away, shaking his head violently. "Stay away from me." The manager smiled softly. "I can't. You're part of the motel now." The fog rolled thicker, swallowing the road, and Jason felt something cold grip his ankle. Another hand reaching up from the asphalt, pale and wet. Then another, and another, hands pulling him down, dragging him toward the ground. He screamed, kicked, tried to break free, but they held tighter, pulling him into the road as the manager watched, that eternal smile never fading. "Welcome back, Mr. Gray," he whispered as Jason's voice broke into the night. "Your room's waiting." Jason's scream faded into silence as he jolted upright, gasping for breath. The first thing he felt was the cold, the kind that seeps into your bones, that doesn't belong in any living place. His eyes darted around. He was back in room 313. The same peeling wallpaper, the same crooked lamp, the same wet carpet beneath his boots. For a moment, he couldn't move. The last thing he remembered was being dragged into the road, the cold hands pulling him down. But now, everything was too still. The clock on the nightstand ticked softly in 13 a.m. again. The exact same time as before. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. "No," he whispered. "No, I got out. I left." He ran to the window, yanked the curtain open. But outside wasn't the parking lot anymore. It was a forest. Tall, black trees pressed close to the glass, their branches scratching against it like fingernails. Fog moved through them in slow, ghostly waves. Jason stumbled back, eyes wide. "What the hell is this place?" he muttered. Then the phone rang again, that same sharp, piercing sound. He hesitated, his hand hovering over it. Finally, he picked up. "Hello," he breathed. Silence. Then softly a woman's voice, broken, trembling. "You shouldn't have come back." His blood froze. "Who is this?" he asked. The voice came again, closer this time, whispering through static. "He's not who he looks like." The line clicked. "Dead." Jason dropped the phone. The air in the room felt heavier now, like it was pressing down on him. He could smell the blood again, that faint metallic tang, and beneath it something else. Rot. He turned toward the bathroom door. It was slightly open, and faint light flickered from inside. Water dripped steadily, echoing in the silence. He walked closer, every step slow, his reflection shifting in the cracked mirror as he entered. The sink was running red, not water, but blood. Thick, dark, swirling down the drain. Jason's breath caught in his chest. He turned off the tap, his hands shaking, and in the mirror for half a second, He saw someone standing behind him. A woman, pale, soaked eyes hollow. He spun around. Nothing. Just the shower curtain swaying gently, though there was no wind. He reached for it, his fingers trembling, and pulled it back in one swift motion, empty. Then a soft whisper, right beside his ear. You can't leave him. Jason staggered out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind him. He pressed his back to the wall, heart hammering. His phone buzzed suddenly. A new message. Unknown number. One word Ron. His head snapped toward the door. Footsteps echoed outside in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. He grabbed his car keys from the table and moved toward the exit, trying not to make a sound. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Jason's hand reached for the doorknob, but before he could touch it, it started turning on its own. The door creaked open slightly, revealing darkness beyond. Jason froze, holding his breath. Then, out of the shadows, a voice. Familiar, calm. You forgot to sign out. Gray. The manager's voice. Jason backed away, but the door kept opening, inch by inch, until the manager's figure appeared. His smile looked wrong this time. Too wide, his teeth too many, eyes too black. You crashed your car, the manager said softly. You died on the road. Jason shook his head, tears stinging his eyes. No, I'm alive. I'm here. The man stepped closer, his shoes silent on the floor. Then look outside and tell me what you see. Jason hesitated, turned toward the window again, and his stomach dropped. The forest was gone. In its place stood a wrecked car, headlights still flickering, smoke curling into the dark. His car, and inside, slumped over the wheel, was him. His own dead body. The glass cracked as he stumbled back. No, that's not me, he screamed. The manager tilted his head, smiling gently. You've been with us since the accident. You just don't remember. Jason felt the room spinning, reality tearing at the edges. You're lying, he said, his voice breaking. I'm not dead. The lights flickered violently. The air filled with whispers now, dozens of them, overlapping, rising from the floorboards and walls. Shapes began to move in the corners of the room, shadows twisting, faces flickering in and out of the darkness. The manager leaned closer, his voice barely audible over the noise. This place feeds on regret. It needs the broken, the lost. Jason covered his ears, shouting, Stop it, stop! But the whispers only grew louder, words forming clearer now. You belong here. The walls started to bleed. Dark streaks running down the wallpaper, dripping onto the floor. The clock's ticking turned erratic, faster, then stopped completely. The manager's grin widened. Your time's up, Mr. Gray. Jason lunged for the door, slammed it open, and bolted into the hallway. But this time, the hallway stretched endlessly, room numbers repeating, 309, 3011, 3T-3. Again and again he ran faster. Breath ragged until he tripped and fell to the floor. When he looked up, he was back at the same door. Room 313. The same flickering light above it. The same smell of blood. He collapsed against the wall, trembling, tears cutting through the dirt on his face. Please. He whispered to no one, I just want to go home. The light above him flickered once more, and faintly, he heard the manager's voice, distant but clear. You are home, Jason. The corridor was silent again. Too silent. Jason leaned against the wall, his breath coming in short bursts, his shirt soaked with cold sweat. The light above room 313 buzzed faintly, throwing long shadows across the carpet. He stared at the brass number plate, 313, as if it were alive, as if it were waiting for him to open it again. No more, he whispered. I'm not going back. But deep down, something inside him knew. There was nowhere else to go. Slowly, he pushed himself up, every bone in his body aching, and started walking down the endless hallway again. The wallpaper seemed to pulse with each step, its floral patterns twisting into shapes, faces, screaming mouths, staring eyes. He looked away, forcing himself forward. Somewhere ahead, faint music played, an old jazz tune, warped and slow like it was coming from underwater. He followed the sound, turning a corner that hadn't existed before. A large dining room appeared at the end of the hall. Candles burned on every table, their flames flickering without wind. Shadows moved along the walls, though no one seemed to be casting them. Jason stepped inside cautiously. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, the air changed, thicker, colder. A group of people sat around the main table, dressed in clothes from different decades. A man in a 1950s suit with a half-smoked cigar frozen between his fingers. A woman in a blood-stained wedding dress, her veil torn. A child holding a stuffed bear missing one eye. None of them moved. None of them blinked. Jason swallowed hard. "Hello," he said quietly. No response. He took a step closer, and suddenly, all of them turned their heads toward him at once. Every candle flame wavered. The woman in the dress spoke first, her voice cracked hollow. "You finally checked in." Jason stumbled back. "Who are you?" The man with the cigar chuckled, a low, dry sound. "Quists." "Just like you." Jason shook his head. "No, I'm leaving." The man smiled without warmth. "We all said that once." The room darkened. The music warped, slowing down into a distorted hum. The child stood up from the table, the teddy bear dangling from her hand. "He doesn't let us," she whispered. Jason turned toward the door, but it was gone. Just a blank wall now, seamless, as if it had never been there. His breathing quickened. "Where is he?" he demanded. The bride's empty eyes met his. "He's everywhere. He built this place for us." "For you." Jason's voice cracked. "Why me?" The man in the suit leaned forward, smoke curling from his unlit cigar. "You brought death with you. The moment you crossed that line on the road." Jason's mind flashed back. The headlights, the rain, the deer that ran out too late, the crash. He closed his eyes, gripping his head. "It wasn't my fault," the room whispered back. Dozens of voices layered and haunting. "It's never their fault." The bride's veil fluttered, though there was no wind. "He feeds on guilt," she said softly. "The ones who can't forgive themselves stay here." Jason's heart pounded as he looked at them. Their lifeless faces, their eyes filled with the same hollow regret he felt every time he closed his own. "There has to be a way out," he said. The man laughed bitterly. "The only way out is to forget." "Forget what? Who you were?" Jason shook his head, stepping back. "No, I won't." The child moved closer, her small footsteps echoing too loudly. "Then he'll come." And just like that, every candle went out. The room plunged into darkness. Jason's chest tightened. He could feel movement, something crawling across the floor. The air vibrated with a deep, low growl, not human, not animal. Jason backed into a corner, hands searching for anything, a door, a window, anything. A faint glow appeared across the room. The manager, standing in the doorway that shouldn't exist. His smile was wider than before, stretching past human limits, eyes glowing faint red. "Still trying to run, Mr. Gray?" Jason's voice trembled. "What do you want from me?" The manager stepped closer, his footsteps echoing unnaturally. "I don't want anything. This place does." The floor beneath Jason rippled like water. Shadows rose from it, arms, faces reaching, pulling. He screamed, kicking free, his hand brushing against something cold. A key, lying on the ground. A tarnished brass key with the number 313 engraved into it. The moment he touched it, the shadows recoiled. The manager stopped. For the first time, his smile faltered. "Where did you get that?" Jason looked at the key, trembling. "What is this?" "That key doesn't belong to you," the manager hissed, voice low and furious. Jason backed toward the far wall. "Then maybe it's my way out." The walls began to shake. The portraits on the walls twisted. The eyes bleeding, mouths screaming. The floor split open, revealing darkness below. The other guests vanished, their bodies turning into dust that floated in the air like ash. The manager lunged forward, his form flickering like static, his voice no longer human. "You can't leave! You're one of us!" Jason shouted back. "Then I'll burn this place down," and jammed the key into the wall where the door had been. A blinding light burst through the cracks, flooding the room. The sound was deafening, like wind, fire, and screams all at once. When the light faded, Jason was gone. The room stood empty. The candles relit themselves one by one, and at the table, a new seat appeared, with a single name tag that read Mr. Jason Gray, checked in permanently. Darkness, then a heartbeat, slow, deep, echoing through emptiness. Jason opened his eyes and found himself standing in the motel parking lot again, rain hammering the cracked asphalt. The neon sign still flickered. "Stay a while," its letters glowing blood red in the storm. For a second, he thought it was over. But then he noticed the silence. No wind, no thunder, just the hiss of rain that didn't feel wet. He looked down. His reflection in the puddle wasn't moving with him. It stood still, staring back with lifeless eyes. Panic clawed up his throat. He turned toward the road, where his car still sat wrecked against the pole, smoke rising from the twisted hood. Through the shattered windshield, he saw his own body, head tilted against the steering wheel, blood streaming down his face, his breath caught. No, that's not real. But the reflection whispered back in a voice identical to his, "You died, Jason. You've been here since last night." He stumbled backward, clutching his head, his pulse screaming in his ears. "No, I made it out. The motel door creaked open behind him. The manager stepped out, perfectly calm, rain sliding off his suit without soaking it. His smile was soft now, almost sympathetic. "You didn't make it out, Mr. Gray. You made it in." Jason's voice broke. "What is this place?" The manager tilted his head slightly. "It's where the lost come to remember what they tried to forget." Jason backed away, his shoes splashing through puddles that reflected faces. Faces of the guests he'd seen earlier. The bride, the man with the cigar, the child, all watching from below the surface. Their mouths moved in silent words, pleading for something he couldn't hear. "I don't belong here," he whispered. "I can leave." The manager's eyes darkened. "You can try." Jason turned and ran. The road stretched endlessly ahead, disappearing into fog. He kept running until his legs burned, but the motel never got smaller. Every time he looked back, it was right there behind him, glowing through the mist. He screamed, falling to his knees. "Please, let me go." The fog swirled and a voice spoke. Not the manager's this time, but familiar. A woman's voice, soft, broken. "Jason." He froze. It was Emily, his wife. He turned and there she was, standing in the fog, wearing the same clothes she had on the night of the crash. Her eyes were wet with tears. "You left me?" she whispered. "You said you'd drive carefully." Jason's voice cracked. "Emily, I didn't see the dear eye. You always say that." Her face twisted, grief turning to something darker. "You were on the phone, Jason. You weren't even looking." His hands shook. "I didn't mean to. You killed me." Her words hit like a blade. The fog behind her glowed red, pulsing with the rhythm of his heartbeat. "No, Emily, no, I. You killed me," she repeated, stepping closer. Her skin was pale now, cracked like porcelain. Blood dripped from her eyes. "You brought me here." Jason stumbled back, crying. "I didn't know. I tried to save you." She stopped inches from him, her voice now layered as if many spoke through her. "Then save yourself." The fog exploded outward, throwing him back into the motel's front office. He hit the counter hard, gasping for breath. The manager stood behind it, hands neatly folded. "Sometimes the truth kills faster than the crash," he said quietly. Jason's eyes burned. "I just wanted to stop." "It will?" the manager replied. "When you check out properly." He turned the registry book around. On it, in dark ink, was Jason's name, Jason Gray. Checked in yesterday. Checked out pending. The pen lay beside it, bleeding ink like a vein. Jason stared at it, realizing what the manager meant. "You want me to sign?" The manager smiled. "You already did. The moment you denied what happened." Jason looked down, his own signature glowing faintly under the paper, written in blood. He grabbed the pen anyway, his hand trembling. "If I sign again, will I see her?" "If you sign," the manager said softly, "you'll never need to." Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the hallway behind him. Empty now, the doors slowly closing one by one. Jason took a breath and pressed the pen down. The paper hissed, burning from the inside out. The ink bled into the walls, the lights flickered, and the entire motel began to shake. "What's happening?" Jason shouted. The manager only smiled, his voice distant now. "Checkout complete." The floor split open beneath Jason, swallowing him whole. He fell through darkness, not screaming, not fighting, just falling endlessly until the noise stopped. Then, daylight. Jason opened his eyes. He was on a quiet road. The crash site was gone. The motel was gone. A police car pulled up beside him. A voice called out, "Hey, you okay, buddy?" He turned. The officer's face was blurry, unreal. Jason tried to speak, but his voice was gone. He looked down at his hands. They were fading. Through the officer's window, he saw something that froze his soul. A reflection in the glass showing the motel behind him, perfectly intact. Room 313 glowing faintly red. The officer frowned. "Sir, do you need a ride?" Jason forced a smile. "I already have a room." He turned back toward the motel, the sign flickering back to life. Room 315 Sieg Oat I Center Ano Pition.